It's great to have you on the show because, I mean, there's a lot to talk about, a lot happening at Tata Motors. And let's just dive in by talking about the star brand in the portfolio, Nexon. Can you tell me a little bit about what the product strategies, the brand strategies, the marketing strategies that are propelling the brand's growth? Can we talk a little bit about that and where the brand fits into your scheme of things going forward?
So thanks, Delshad, for the question. When we talk about Nexon specifically as a brand, this has been very pivotal to our growth as a brand. And overall, if I talk about the portfolio and where it is positioned and its its role in this entire portfolio, our portfolio has focused on those segments which are growing popular among the consumers in the country, and also where, and when I said popular, the future growth and the size which it is going to attain in the coming years, that is where the focus of our portfolio is, because the opportunities in this fragmented market is immense. But we are seeing certain segments where the growth is more, and you will see, therefore, our SUV portfolio is much stronger than the other segments, and this is a trend which we have been seeing over a period of time. We are also observing very closely the consumer sentiments and values, how it is changing, and consumers in general are different than what they were earlier in the country, and therefore we are trying to align our portfolio, our brand pillars, uh, aligning to how the consumer choices are also changing, right? And what is the change in the consumer values? It's primarily that the customers, earlier used to be very looking for very practical, rational products, right? Movement from point A to point B, focusing on fuel efficiency, uh, and just doing the functional work for them. Today, a car is an object which is seen as an object of self-expression, right? You have consumers which are more younger, right? You have 60% plus consumers who are less than 35 years old, and there's a higher consciousness around safety as well as environment, doing good for the environment. So these, with these changing values, we have focused on 2 3 brand pillars for ourselves, and that is focused on making our cars very expressive, right? And therefore design is
Mhm.
one big pillar for us, stylish design, and safety is one which I must say that we have pioneered this in the country. And the third one is, of course, we bring the right balance of features, driving electrification in the country. These are the few pillars on which we are building the brand, aligning to the consumer uh, need. And
So,
when we see Nexon, this is one product, I would say, which is the flagship product, pronouncing these pillars the best in our portfolio, is what I would say.
so part of it is, of course, the evolution of the consumer that's driving this change. It's interesting because once there were nanos and indicas, and that kind of sort of evolved into a fleet model, and now you have the Nexon and the Harrier and all these brands, and suddenly you are this sort of affordable yet cool SUV brand. Let's dig a little bit deeper into how that evolution has happened.
Absolutely. Let me try from 2 3 directions. One is from a consumer itself, Dilshad, because we knew that, and how it is connected with the portfolio choices that we made. Consumer was becoming younger. It's a country with demographic dividend where population is becoming more younger, and younger people by nature is spending more, right? They upfront buy expensive cars, smartphones, many things, right? So I was surprised when I saw the data of Nexon, which is a 10 lakh kind of a car, that 55% of them are first time buyers. We used to always think that they would buy an entry car as their first car, but which means that young people are spending more, and the population of people, consumers who are young in car buyers who are young, is increasing every day. And therefore we have to align our portfolio with their choices, and therefore this was one part which was at the center of our consideration when we were thinking of this. And therefore, when you talk about young consumer, it means that these people want to be expressive. They are not going for cost of ownership approach, that how much I'm going to spend and all. They want to own, just like they wear their clothes, they want to wear the car in which they are. They want to be seen in a car which is more expressive about themselves. So design became one of the important themes for us, right? Which also brings these elements out, which is more expressive. The other thing was that there was this global trend of movement towards SUVs, and we always saw in India also that when a SUV was offered at a certain price point, it was more accepted in the market. And SUVs have a inherent benefits, right? One, it was always aspirational because of products like Safari in the past. So they people always relate that, if you own an SUV, you have arrived in life, and those kind of feelings. And then, practical benefits of an SUV with a commanding height, better ground clearance, and all, just helps, in the Indian kind of driving environment. Keeping all this into focus is how we went about our portfolio, right? Which is more SUV focused, you would see, and we brought SUVs from a subcompact SUV like a Punch to a Nexon to a Harrier and then a Safari. So we have the widest portfolio, which is why we are 69 to 70% of our volumes are SUVs, as compared to industry share of 40%.
So let's talk a little bit about where the growth will come from. Where is the rocket fuel coming from in terms of growth, and where will it come from in the future?
One SUV, I can tell you that SUV is going to be one segment where the growth will continue, and where the launch actions will be more intense as compared to the other segment. So that is one. The other growth area would be the powertrain area, Dilshad. And I'm saying that you will, over a period of times, see that electrification, more eco-friendly powertrains will start gaining pace. And therefore, you are already witnessing the growth, steep growth that you're seeing in CNG or electric, these kind of powertrains. And you'll continue to see a growth which will be coming from these two areas. And you'll see that slowly products will get lesser emphasis of growth and powertrains might become bigger. So electrification is going to see a bigger growth in the coming times. So these are the two areas where I see will the growth will come from, and we are Tata, as Tata Motors, we are at the sweet spot of both, in SUVs, in powertrains with all the eco-friendly powertrains, and electrification. In any case, we are driving the leading the charge in this space. And therefore in future you will see more and more models, as we have announced 10 models in electric vehicles. More CNG models will come, and few more products may be going forward in SUVs.
Since you mentioned the electric vehicles, let's talk a little bit about that. In your view, what are the biggest challenges to marketing an electric future to Indians, and how do you sort of plan to overcome these hurdles?
One good thing is that the Indian consumers adopt things very fast, right? One, they are very convinced about electric vehicles. They're very excited about it. So if you ask 10 people, 7 or 8 of them would say that I'm really thinking of an electric vehicle, but I'm curious to know about electric cars. Uh, and what holds them from buying an electric car today? One, see, you have about 120, 140 options available in the conventional world of ICE, right? You have only a handful of options in the electric vehicle. So choices are less, right? And when I say choices are less, it is less in terms of body styles, it is less in terms of pricing, affordable levels, affordability levels. So this is one part: choices and the affordability levels. And second aspect is a lot of myths, and not always myth, I would say, but certain bottlenecks in terms of charging infra, where they will charge the car, for example. They always feel that, oh, I go to a station, to a petrol station or a CNG station, to fill my car, refuel my car. I don't see any charging station. But there's lack of awareness that actually, based on all the 15,000 cars that we have sold in the EV space, 96% of the time people charge at home. So the awareness of people that cars can be actually charged at their home, and similar to like people charge their mobile phones overnight, this car can be also charged overnight, is not there. So this awareness also needs to be created, and it's not that stressful. Where people, I always say that charging infra issue is an overstated issue. um, and within the city, you actually don't need public charging infra. Uh, but on highways, this is one challenge. On highways, you need more chargers to make it a more practical solution. But even what we have seen in the last 1 year, uh, with home charging solution available, earlier the first car buyer or a primary car buyer for an electric used to be just 25-30%. For our Nexon EV, today it is 60-65%, which means that people are not considering this as a mainstream choice. So if two, three things have to be taken care of to really make the electric vehicles fly in terms of adoption: more choices, slightly more range, uh, greater awareness, and charging infra on the highways. If we are able to take care of all these things, then the question you would ask, that why you not buy an electric vehicle, and why you would even buy a conventional vehicle? Because electric vehicle is silent, it is not polluting, it is better in performance, it is lower as in total cost of ownership. You get a 8-year warranty. I mean, there will be no reason why you would then consider a conventional car if these aspects are taken care of. So those are the challenges, and what we need to overcome all.
It also sort of puts the company sort of a strange position, right? Because I mean, you are also selling, gas cars, and so how do you sort of balance that view on these two ends?
It's a very clear view, Delshad, that we have to try our best to see how fast we can accelerate electrification, because that's the future and that's what the nation needs, that's what everyone needs. But the challenge is that the whole ecosystem development will take its own time. To whatever extent you can accelerate, you can, but it will still take, the time which is needed to develop the entire ecosystem, and more importantly, build capacities. Right. Today, auto volumes are 100 million cars, or vehicles that you make, and today electric vehicles are 2 million or so. You have a big journey of scaling up the operations, right? And operations is not about only putting a capacity for car manufacturing. It goes down to mines. It goes down to the charging infra that you have to create. So it's going to take its time. In this period, accelerate it as fast as possible, but you cannot not serve the 98 million, right, which is also needed. So you have to therefore produce ICE vehicles. So uh, if I take a 10-year view, 30% is what is projected as the penetration of electric vehicle, even if you speed up, right? And 70% is still going to be ICE, right? Our attempt would be that this 30%, we should be much more than this, right? We should be more closer to 50% as a company. And the rest 50% of whatever conventional vehicles we are going to make are more eco-friendly, like CNG option and these kind of options, right? And that's the only practical way forward.